But Kris, that's not easy.
Nope.
It's not easy to go after it again when you feel like you've been burned.
Let me run the risk of sounding super arrogant, pompous, and egotistical.
Let's go there.
Every person wants more time, not less. Every person wants more resources, not less. Even the person that's like, well, I don't want to be rich. Liar. They want access to resources in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I get that they may have judgment on the nature of money. Every person wants more love. And every person wants more magic. More money, more time, more love, more magic, more legacy, more impact, more change, more lives. We all want this.
Yeah.
And yet the reason why we have such failings at achieving some of these things is because we got stuck.
Kris, I got a question for you. I've been with you for 8 years. I've watched you do business with all kinds of people. I've watched you win and I've watched you lose. How do you not lose your faith in people? I've seen some people do some really screwed up things to you. And I've seen you maintain your cool when you should have been blowing a gasket.
Yeah.
How do you not lose your faith in humanity and people? How do you be willing to do another partnership down the road after such experiences?
Last night, I was joined by some very close friends for a private process with me and my wife, because my wife and I have leveled up our relationship, and I had to let off some steam and I had to release some frustration. And we hang out with a really cool, close group of friends and decided to involve them in it. And, my wife had written me this apology letter that frankly pissed me off, because she did such a great job verbalizing the things that really bothered me. And we use this process for me to just get the rest of the energy out, to verbalize it, to communicate it, so I could get back to a soft heart again, get fresh, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm talking about my wife. Yeah. This is my life, my eternal partner. This is the person I'm doing it all with. And yet there's so many other people that we do business with where we're kind of in a pseudo marriage relationship. You're the CEO of my company. Brother, we are tied at the hip.
Sure.
And we're married. Sure. And there's been no infidelity, meaning
none at all.
I'm sure you're so successful, you're getting courted by other companies now. There's people saying,
but yeah, there's 1,000,001 ways that I could do you wrong.
Yeah. So look at the complications of my life, or anyone listening to this, your life. Who are all the people that you are in a relationship with? And how many of those people are there by choice? Like, for example, my wife and I, when we agreed to get married, we said we're going to have some kids. We had 4 kids. We did not get to pick all our kids. If we did, I wasn't there when we customized temperaments.
There's some curveballs.
Right. There was definitely some curveballs. But yet that's a consequence of a choice that I made. So putting my wife in my life and making the choice to have children led to 4 beautiful souls, all uniquely different from each other. And so now my world revolves around my wife and these 4 beautiful human beings currently aged between 11 and 16 years old. And I got to tell you, there's so much I love about parenting. And there's times when I just want to
pull your hair out.
Right?
Yeah.
Now look at how many business partners I have. Look at all the people that I do business with. I have hundreds of real estate business partners around the globe that they know me way better than I know them, because they can look at my reviews, my online ratings, my social media. They can watch 1 million videos, so it seems. And I don't have that benefit for them. My world is filled with creating relationships with people. And the truth is, Carson, we're not always going to get it right. Yeah. And we're going to be in relationships with some people we shouldn't. Others are worth saving. They just need to be cleansed and refreshed and restarted, like I had with my wife last night. It was a beautiful process, led to the most beautiful breakthrough this morning. Like my wife and I have the most amazing marriage because we've been through so much together. And it's 20 years now, and she is literally my best friend and my favorite human being on the planet, which is why I cared to invest into leveling up a relationship again. So we're going to learn from sorry mistakes. We're going to learn from being a poor judge of character. So I think the question is, how do you pick your partners?
Right.
I'm just going to share with you, I think compared to many, I've had far more partnerships than most people will have in 10 lifetimes, which means that I have a little bit of unique perspective on the successful ones from the less successful ones. And the fact that my track record is I have far more successful ones today than I had years ago, right? You've seen some of the brain damage on some of them. And I'll share with you the filter that I've developed. And the first filter is actually very, very, very simple. When I meet a human being, I'm going to judge them. And I'm going to put them into one of two categories. And I'm either going to classify them as a giver or a taker. Very simple. People will reveal their nature relatively quickly. If you ask a favor and they respond with what's in it for me, they're likely a taker. If you ask a favor and they donate their time and don't hold back their talents or abilities, they're likely a giver. And I've learned that I want to work with people like me. Now, me personally, I believe that I'm a giver. I will, you know this about us. We will give and give and give before we ever expect anything in return. And I like givers personally, and givers do really well with givers. Givers do horrible with takers, and takers do very well with givers. Because a taker will take until the giver has no more that they're willing to give, and then they move on like a plague to the next host. For me, I value sustainability instead of the quick almighty dollar. And so one of the things that I notice about takers is they're usually in it for something more material. They're usually in it for monetary gain. They're in it for instant fame. And the word is delayed gratification, instant, instant, instant. Like the more now for me, better. And so takers, they're often playing a short game. Meanwhile, givers could be involved in a short game, but usually I think are involved in a long game. I'm interested in sustainability. And that's why I side with givers, because I need to know that we're doing something that'll work today. But what's the point of putting all the effort and energy into today if it can't reproduce its fruits a year from now? And what if it couldn't be 100 times more fruitful a decade from now? So for me, it's actually investing. And when I'm investing in the right human, and I'm a giver and they're a giver, the reason why give is so important is because the reality of most relationships, the reality of business is, hey, guess what? Newsflash, we're going into a recession. That means that unless you adapt, unless you change, there's a high likelihood that you're going to go through a rough spot. And you know what? When everyone's making money, everything's great. But what happens when you're not? It reveals true colors. And so when there's not enough money being made, and you could blame it on a recession or whatever, that's when a taker really reveals their true colors. And all of a sudden, what you thought was sustainable comes to an end.
Can I play devil's advocate here for a little bit?
I think it's fair.
Because
there's enough takers out there, and I've dealt with enough of them, that I'm like, clearly there's got to be a great argument for being a taker.
Yeah, so
there's a lot of winning that you can do.
I'm imagining two people having this type of response to the things you've said. Number one, which I want to address second, is I didn't know they were a taker until it was too late.
Yeah.
And number two, they said, but what if I just do this thing real brief with them and then we go our separate ways?
Yeah.
And I think that is a dangerous temptation to say, I recognize they're a taker, but if we just do this thing for a short time, we'll both make money and then...
It's interesting because part of it also has to do with whether you're a transactional person or whether you are a momentum builder. So transactional means we do a transaction and someone gets to win, or if it was a win-win, we both got to win. And if so, we'll do another transaction. In business, there's a lot of opportunities for JVs, joint ventures.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to take all the people on my list and we're going to take the people on your list and we're going to do some type of offering and then we're going to split the money. And often in these deals, there's a winner and a loser based on how they usually structure the deal. I had someone suggest to me, they said, hey, I would be a super valuable member of your mastermind. In fact, it'd be so valuable that I want to co-own it with you and I want 50% of the revenue. And I said, well, I'm going to use my list to build this mastermind and you have a list. Are you going to use your list? And they said, sure. I said, great. Then how about we do this? We'll split the revenue that you get off of your list. So in other words, your list, you keep the money. My list, I keep the money. And they didn't like that. The reason why I didn't like that is because they knew that my list
sucked.
They would have known that my list was better and they wanted the money from my list and they didn't like that. But what I was looking for was something fair. I was looking for equality that created also equal equity. And this person wasn't interested in that. So being in a relationship with anyone that wants something that they don't deserve, How's that ever going to be sustainable? How does anyone feel after a period of time when someone's been taking from you? It's kind of interesting because I hang out with a Christian group of people, and there was an argument that ensued the other day. I said, well, Jesus in the Bible, he said that you shouldn't judge people. And I said, I don't know. I hope this isn't blasphemous. I don't think that's what Jesus meant. I think maybe the words in today's language might have been translated to don't condemn. I think we should judge the snot out of every person because A, I want to learn vicariously from someone else's mistakes. I think there's so much value in that. And B, I need to know whether I'm making a smart marriage choice, whether I'm making a smart education choice, whether I'm picking the right kind of mentor, whether I'm picking the right kind of business partner. You have to become wise as a serpent, even if you come across gentle as a dove. I like that phrase a little bit better. Yeah, so going back to your question, right? I think I missed one of the answers to your question that you had asked. What was the one that I didn't answer?
And then people say I didn't know they were a taker.
Yeah.
Until it was too late.
Yeah, when you didn't know someone was a taker, that's on you and not on them.
Yeah.
So we struggle. Victimhood invites us to always shift to the blame to the wrong party. In fact, that's what victimhood is it's blaming the wrong person. So most people, they don't want to accept the blame, so they'll blame someone else. So, well, I didn't know they were a taker. I was like, well, there's a price for being inexperienced. That wasn't your only option. You could have sought advice from someone else that had been in a similar situation. This is why I love mentorship. For me, like, what is a mentor? It's someone that has experience where I don't. Very, very, very simply put, a mentor has experience where you don't. Why on earth do we continue to, at times, be so naive into thinking that we can go into the unknown with no experience and everything's going to work out great? I think that lone wolf syndrome, that solo syndrome, is how we get it so wrong and become burnt out, fatigued, overworked, overstressed, underpaid, undervalued. And that's because we have a go-it-alone mentality. Meanwhile, we actually have to become better judges of people, character, the scenario. And so for me, it always starts with, are you a giver or are you a taker? Well, I didn't know. It's okay. Do you know better now? The first time someone takes and you get hurt and the relationship separates, the majority of people will take home this lesson. I can't trust people.
Yeah.
And I can't trust people always should be turned and inverted into I can't trust me. And that's because you're right. You trusted yourself without experience to make a decision that you thought you were equipped to make. And now in hindsight, it was apparent you weren't. And yet you can't live in a place where you don't trust yourself either. So the real lesson is, I trust myself to pick better people. I trust myself to pick more of the right people. You will, we hate it when bad things happen, but bad things are required for our growth. We should lean in and love every bad experience. It contains the teacher and the teachings, the things that we need to level up our life. If we will just start learning from our bad mistakes, we would lead better lives. But instead we get stuck with the wrong take-home lesson. Well, I can't trust them. I can't trust me. It's like, no, it's neither. It's you didn't know better. You were inexperienced. You made a mistake. Now what are you learning? Well, I'm learning that when I'm picking people for this specific role, I should be looking for A instead of B. Great. Go get up and do it again. This time you actually learned. And you still got something wrong. Guess why? Because you still had to learn. You might get it wrong 100 times, but the lesson is never you shouldn't trust them or you. You should trust people to be who they are. And you should trust yourself to become, with every mistake, a better judge of character. Not cynical, not pessimistic. More equipped, more endowed, more discerning, more capable. I take a look at Warren Buffett today, and I would trust Warren Buffett to make any number of business decisions on my behalf before I would ever trust myself.
Yeah.
He has a track record. Why wouldn't I? We're weird, funny little creatures that like to go it alone instead of learning.
But Kris, that's not easy.
Nope.
It's not easy to go after it again when you feel like you've been burned.
Let me run the risk of sounding super arrogant, pompous, and egotistical.
Let's go there.
Every person wants more time. not less. Every person wants more resources, not less. Even the person that's like, well, I don't want to be rich. Liar. They want access to resources in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I get that they may have judgment on the nature of money. Every person wants more love. And every person wants more magic. More money, more time, more love, more magic, more legacy, more impact, more change, more lives. We all want this.
Yeah.
And yet the reason why we have such failings at achieving some of these things is because we got stuck. I tried that diet. I tried it. Now I weigh 150 pounds overweight. So diets don't work for me. There's that wrong lesson again of I can't trust others and I can't trust me. It's like, no, the take-home lesson is not a new identity, a belief that you'll assume as an identity that says that. You have to look past your errors and get past the crotchety, crusty, negative, pessimistic, skeptical, just pissed off, jealous person that got it wrong and get soft again. Say, time to get back into student mode. Time to get learning again. Time to get teacher mode again. I think that we all want these things. More time, more money, more magic, more love, more legacy, more impact. The only thing keeping us from getting there is a refusal to learn the right lesson. And so I think that that's so much, Carson, what life is about. I think it's about learning from our mistakes and learning the right lessons and then getting back up and trying again. If you keep getting back up and try again after learning the right lessons, eventually you'll have a healthier body. You'll have more money and resource. You're going to have more love. You're going to have more of everything that you want on this planet.